Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maud Toussaint Como. This is a channel where we talk about fragrances and arts. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about fragrances and how I perhaps educate myself a little bit which makes it possible for me to come and talk to you about fragrances. As you know, disclaimer here, I'm not a professional perfumer. I'm not even a professional anything relative to perfume. My reviews are probably mostly for entertainment, just like you go into any site and you look at reviews by the users. So this is how you should look at my comments regarding fragrances. Because I think a lot of you know me as doing other things, and then you see me talking about a lot of things. I talk about art in my channel. I take you to my travel. It's really a lifestyle channel, but a lot of you are sort of, what is it about fragrances that Maud is talking about? So I wanted to share with you just one example of how I have come to know about fragrance. So it's my collection of samples, and I want to share with you my approach on how I use the samples and my approach to them. Probably not the prettiest site you have seen, but that's going to give you an idea of what's involved. But it's like my little lab of sort, so that's going to give you an idea of how I get to know about fragrances. I try to focus on houses, right? One approach is for me to try to understand a perfumer and a house. And believe it or not, guys, this whole thing right here, the perfumer is Paolo Terenzi. I mean, he has a prolific array of fragrances that he puts out, in different collections, right? So he has the Sea Stars collection. So this is Telea from the Sea Star collection. And this is Atlantide, which is a tuberose fragrance from the Sea Star collection. And then you have Oza is from the Sea Star collection. That's just an example of how I get to know about fragrances. And this is Andromeda, so I got travel samples also. I tend to have travel samples. And then this is another collection, Aphrodite, like sort of the dog bottle collection, and then the gold bottle collections, you have, another set of fragrances. But anyway, so this is one set of collection by Tiziana, and then he has the 5 Canto line, and I have a lot of those in the line, Mandragola, and all of these are really very, very powerful fragrances. I have found, like, for his house, his output is so prolific and it's so strong that seriously I couldn't see how anyone can really buy all of these full-size Tiziana Terenzi and hope to live a whole life in wearing them. So to me, the samples is a very nice way to make sure that whichever one you pick ultimately is the one you really, really love. These are my designer samples. These are my niche samples. So the difference between designer and niche is that designers has other things. They're not just focused on perfumes, right? So we have Tiffany here. So I have several Tiffany. I have Tiffany and Company Love, Intense. So each of those bags has a house. So I put them together. So this is Burberry. These are Gucci's samples, and these are Prada samples. So the way I go is really try to focus on one house that I like at a time and just put them together. And I may spend a week wearing them before I give a review of a range to have a bigger perspective of a fragrance in the house. These are Burberry. So I have several of these. My niche one, which are houses that really just focus on perfume. So I have almost the full house of Le Labo here as sample. And I have a lot of the Armani Privé. I guess it's not really niche per se, but this is the higher end of Armani. So it has Rouge Malachite, which I recently purchased because out of all of these, that's the one I decided I wanted. And then Kilian. So I have several Kilians here. I put Tom Ford here, although it's not really a niche, but it's such an expensive line. I tend to put it together with my niche. So I have several actual full bottle of Tom Ford. And this is how I make a decision on what to get after really trying to know what the offering is for the fragrance. And then I have Diptyque. Oh, I have a lot of those Bond number 9. These are Jo Malone fragrance. These are Acro, the recent line by Olivier Cress, which I've given reviews. House of Sillage, and I've actually put them separate because my daughter has selected all of these samples as things that she wants. So among them is all my House of Sillage sample, Marc Jacob replica. So these are the one my daughter picked, so I'm just going to give them to her after I decide whether to review some of them or not. And these are sort of more like the male fragrances. And I typically would just send them to some of my YouTuber friends just because I don't really review male fragrance that much. And I don't feel I know enough about them. I just like to enjoy them on my husband. But, you know, I usually don't wear them. So I typically would like, if I do a nice little care package to a YouTuber friend, I would send them those samples that I have. And these are some miscellaneous. Among them, the dreaded unknown samples when somehow you have no idea what the sample is. But I still enjoy them. I'm like, okay, if I'm going to work out, I just put it on. And it's like, whatever baby may be. So I hope you get my approach on how to put together and organize the thousands of samples we tend to have once we start having a little bit of a growing perfume selection. Very useful for me to have a good idea of actually what I have, and I discovered some gem. Like I had purchased something at Neiman Marcus, they sent me a bunch of BDK, able to make some decision before deciding on what to get. So that gives you an idea, hopefully, of how I get to know houses, I get to know the line offering of a perfumer, and how I focus on a few houses at a time, because when you look at the list of fragrances that come every year, it's a lot. Talking about fragrances doesn't mean we have to own everything under the sky. So it's perfectly okay to sort of specialize in a couple of houses that we either believe in, that fits our aesthetic. Then we can develop a little bit of expertise in those houses, like of fragrances, as opposed to, Lord forbid, trying to get everything under the sky. So I hope that gives you an idea of what I'm doing and how I sort of assemble my little knowledge on how I feel about fragrances I wear and how I decide before I purchase anything. I just have those samples that I really wear them. And then by the time I make a decision, I tend to be pretty sure that's something I want. So I wish the same for you, and I hope that you enjoy this quick discovering of what in the world mod does. All right, guys, bye.